Alright, air conditioning unit. Think of this as a car. For you guys in automotive, the parts that are in a car are right here sitting in front of us. We don't have to jump in and out from the front of the car to inside under the dash. It's all right here. The dash, the condenser, the blower for your dash, the blower for your condenser, the radiator fan, everything is here. This is a cap tube system, just like an orifice tube on some cars, and instead of expansion valve, this is what they call a cap tube system. An orifice tube. Think of an orifice tube. So instead of a gasoline engine onto a compressor with a clutch, you have an electric motor. Now if you think of a Prius, you have an electric motor. They're both pumps. They're doing the exact same thing. This is a fixed speed pump. It only has one speed. It doesn't vary. A Prius varies up and down. And a lot of the new mechanical displacement pumps are variable displacement pumps. They're not like old-fashioned pumps. So a lot of the things that were taught in air conditioning don't quite apply anymore with the pressure and temperature relationships and using a PT chart and thinking your system is full or not. All that stuff is ancient technology. That's Neanderthal, old school. Think of a crank engine starting a Model A Ford. Those books need to be updated, and then unfortunately the old guys who are teaching stuff are still teaching old methods, but this is old school basically. So under the dash of a car you have a blower motor. Here's a blower motor right here. This sucker is hot, so this actually puts heat back into your room because it radiates out of here. Some of the heat that is part of the blower in here is getting used up by the energy and the money you're spending for electricity on the pump to cool off your room, is also pulling off the part of the motor that's actually pissing hot. This is like 130 degrees or so. The motor's 150 some degrees, and I believe I'm taking that temperature way over here, so it's I think 140 here, and that's wireless. So let's come over here. 144 degrees. This is the discharge of the compressor. So this is about 10 degrees hotter over here. So it literally pulls air through the grill over this really hot motor, and if the room temperature is 75 degrees, it goes over this motor towards the condenser to cool off the condenser. But wait a minute, you just raised the room temperature because you went over 150 degree air to like 80 or 90 degrees going over the condenser. So that makes the motor work harder, so that uses more electricity because this unit, the condenser, is contained within the house. Then over here is the condenser motor case, your radiator fans. So think of your radiator fans. This would be the equivalent of your radiator fans. And this is a really hot motor right here, radiating off motor. And this is where the hot air is coming out of here. This air is about 100 and some degrees. Let's take this thermistor. We'll put the thermistor in here and we'll measure this temperature of the air in here. So this is going out a pipe, and it goes in a pipe and it goes out a window. And then this was one of those ones where you see it pipes it out of the room to cool off the condenser and cool off the motor so you could get cooling, but at the same time it turns your room into a big vacuum cleaner, so that whatever room this is in is actually going into negative pressure. And if it's 110 degrees outside or 110, if this is 800 CFM of air being pumped out of your room to cool your room, at the exact same time it has to bring in 800 CFM air from all the cracks of all the windows and doors, taking in the outside ambient temperature air of 100 or 110 degrees, and you have to pay PG&E, your electric company, again to cool off Mother Nature. So when you're buying one of these type of units that vent the condenser air out the window, you are not only paying for cooling your room for radiant heat coming in, you are literally paying to cool Mother Nature, because the same volume of air that is pumping out of this tube that goes through the tube that goes to your window, the exact same volume of that hot air has to come in the house, and you're paying for it again to be cooled. None of these are Energy Stars. It's impossible. They cannot be Energy Stars. These are the most energy hogging, expensive way to cool off a house. If you buy one, and it doesn't matter what manufacturer, if they're relying on the method of discharging the hot air through a window, and you're taking in the air through the vent here, that means it's cooling the room that this unit's containing and making it basically a shop vac, trying to pull in air from anywhere. Down the chimney, down a flue of your kitchen, where you have the exhaust going outside for your kitchen fan. It'll go in reverse, because if this is located in that area, it'll make a negative pressure, sucking the hot air from the roof, sucking hot air through the vent for your gas furnace, sucking hot air through the vent for your water heater. If you have enough negative pressure items inside your house sucking air and venting them outside, it will start going in the opposite direction and flowing backwards, and then going out of this tube, because this is like a huge vacuum cleaner located in your room. Okay, get on to the car relationship thing again. So here is a capillary tube that's coming from the bottom of the condenser. So this is your high pressure liquid right here, and it goes and it's soldered into this little tiny tube. That little tiny tube, big tube, high pressure liquid gas. Then it vaporizes through this low pressure little capillary tube right here, as it comes out the end right here into the evaporator from the condenser. From the condenser to the evaporator. On a car, this would be your orifice tube. Think of it that way. So at this point right here, where it says suction line temperature, it's 42 degrees. So at this point where this capillary tube in, before it goes through the first part of the evaporator, 42 degrees. Then after going through back and forth, doing its job, cooling off the room, the air in the room, and condensating, making water, it comes back out. At this point, we lost some of the capacity. We got our superheat. So whatever temperature went in here and comes out here, that's our delta T across the evaporator of the refrigerant in the lines. So in this one right here, we are 58 degrees coming out, 42 degrees going in. So we're 42 degrees here, we're 58 degrees here. So we're 16 degrees difference between where the refrigerant temperature goes in and the refrigerant in the line temperature comes out. Same thing on a car, no difference. Same thing for a condenser. We are 148 degrees. Some cars are around, say, 140 degrees discharge temperature from the compressor, and it goes in the top. It goes in the top of the condenser. And then when it comes out of the bottom of the condenser, we're taking the temperature again of the liquid coming out, and we're 87 degrees. So basically the same thing as a car. If you guys who have a small, if you're a do-it-yourself shop, or you know, a small mechanic by yourself, or if you're a technician in a larger shop and you want to know a little bit more about understanding how a car air conditioning, if you can find one of these, people throw these stuff away. So you could find one of those little window units, you could find a little floor standing unit or a dehumidifier. They all kind of work on the same principle. You can bring it back to life. Maybe you can fix it. Maybe it's nothing more than a burnt, burnt contactor. You could diagnose the relays on a car. You can diagnose one of these relays. If you can diagnose a burn connection on a car, you can diagnose a burn connection on one of these. If you have a capacitor that went out on an old car, like this has this capacitor right here, you could diagnose one of these. But remember, this is mains voltage, and this could zap your ass if you don't know what you're doing. If it's around mains voltage, you're not comfortable with 100 or 200 volts of power that could kill you, don't do it. I worked around 240 volts since before I was 10 years old and been zapped. So yeah, don't do it if it's not your thing. If you're trained and you're skilled with higher voltage, go right ahead. If you're not, you might get your ass laid out on the floor. I know over in Europe, when they talk about electricity, they're more safe about it than us over here in the US, especially about their grounding and everything like that. They're very say follow the rules on that kind of stuff. So that's all, just a quick video explanation. Here is a car AC system all in one little compact unit, and if you wanted to teach yourself more and you could take one of these out of the trash bin or the dumpster or something like that, if it was low on charge and you found a leak, you can actually say you found a little crack at one of the leaks right here. You could braze it up with a little solder. It's supposed to be silver solder, but if you get some bridge type or some of the better solders, you can build up a little mound on it, and you can fix a little crack and recharge one of these. But this uses R410, and now coming into the USA, newer small AC window units and small stand-up units are starting to use R134 like they're using in Europe. So in the United States is starting to use R32, that's what it is, R32, which is a flammable refrigerant, but it's so little that it really makes no big difference. Anyway, if you can't deal with flammable refrigerants like R600 or R290 butane propane, and you blow yourself up, we just clean the gene pool, because if you don't read and you don't do it right, that's just Darwin's way of cleaning our gene pool. Hopefully the person didn't reproduce yet, because that would just be spreading bad genes. That's about it on this one. Just a Sunday afternoon project, and I thought I would kind of make a cool representation between automotive and small appliances. Think of your refrigerator, your window shaker, air conditioning unit, or a dehumidifier. Basically all the same way. And say you did have a crack and you found a leak. If you found a leak and you repaired it, see this little crimp right here? So right there is where you would cut off and you would braze on a new little fitting for your 1/4-inch fittings on your gauges. You would draw a vacuum on the system, just like you would a car, and you would read and find out how much refrigerant it takes, just like a car. Your under hood sticker. Look at this thing, almost 1,000 watts to run a little 1,000 BTU unit. 8.88 amps is what it normally would take. Okay, so this one takes 13 ounces of refrigerant. Hey, that's like a little Toyota Yaris. I think that's about the charge. Toyota Yaris is about somewhere around 12 ounces. And so this unit takes about the same charge of a Toyota Yaris, but using R410. So you would cut this off, braze on a little 1/4-inch fitting, put your gauges up there. There's no low side on this one. You would draw a vacuum, get it down to 500 microns or lower, charge in 13.5 ounces or whatever the stick is saying, and then remove your gauges, take it off, and start it up, and they usually work. And it's really simple, it's child's play. That's it. Enough for this video. A weekend warrior, do-it-yourself Sunday afternoon project.